Hey guys, welcome back to We Watch a Movie. I am Mike, and we've got another Scream update for you. And look, before we get started with the videos today, I just want to say this is a spoiler-free space. You will not get spoiled on Scream here, I promise. A new promo has just come out. This just came out maybe yesterday. It's like 16 seconds long, and it includes 2 new pieces of dialogue.
It's like Ghostface is counting down to something.
And then you get like this 3, 2, 1 effect.
3, 2.
And then it's Dermot Mulroney who says,
"What happens when he gets to 1?
What happens when he gets to 1? It's pretty cool because it has a total 7-ish feel to it, you know what I mean? Can you honestly tell me you've ever seen anything like this? No. It's got that kind of vibe to it, and I like it. I love 7. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. And they're doing an awesome job promoting the hell out of this movie. You know who's not awesome? Is the complete and unholy douchebags who have been dropping spoilers. We talked about it in the live stream. You guys know there was some super douche who went online and literally clipped allegedly, supposedly, video of the Ghostface reveal. And that was a big thing in the Scream community that's been going on. And I have some maybe possibly amazing news about that coming up later in the video. Maybe we have not been spoiled, my friends. And the rest of the way, it's all good news, my friends. Deadline Hollywood reported that Scream 6 is headed to its franchise record opening at the box office, beating even, ironically, the movie of the Scream franchise that made the most money up till now was Scream 3, with $34 million. They are projecting this to make $37 million in the opening weekend. Now, Deadline says that that's because of the star power of Wednesday's Jenna Ortega, which makes sense. I mean, she's fucking everywhere right now. But also it says that fans were pleased with the previous movie, which further demonstrated the power of horror at the box office during the pandemic with a $30 million 3-day opening last year. Now, I think both of these things are a little bit true. I think Jenna Ortega is definitely a pool because of everything that's happened with Wednesday and stuff like that. But I think more importantly is that people enjoyed Scream 5. So you'd be surprised about that if you looked at some people online, because it's always the angriest people who are the loudest. But I find it funny that when you read a comment of someone who hated Scream 5, it's not just like, I'm the minority, I didn't enjoy Scream 5 because of this reason. It's always like, everyone knows Scream 5 sucked. Fiction can be fun. Now, I always kind of hate when they do this because it's like, oh, well, if you hadn't have said anything, then it breaking the records would have been a nice surprise. But now, no matter what happens, if Scream does amazing and it hits 36 instead of the 37, you'll have a bunch of the same people being like, see, it's a total box office bomb. IGN Fan Fest was this past weekend, and it's like the same trio who does all the interviews. It's the writer, Gillett, and it's Radio Silence, the directors. So just assume when I'm going through these quotes that it's those 3 talking from here on out. But they did an IGN Fan Fest interview with IGN FanFest, and I just pulled out some quotes that I thought were interesting from this. Number 1, you can tell that these people get Scream. What I've always loved about the first Scream movie is that it has that levity to it where it can be really funny, but for it to be funny and not turn into campiness or corniness, when you get to the kills, they have to be mean. They have to let you know, hey, everything's fine until it's not. And so you can feel the darkness of those moments. And I feel like that's why Scream works so great. And that's why Scream 3 didn't really have the bite of the other movies, because it went way too far on the comedy and the camp and left out the meanness because of the times that we were living in with the Columbine happening and all that stuff. But what they said about this was just interesting to me. They said knowing when to make the movie scary and cruel, but not make the entire movie cruel. There's a real difference between it being fun and mean and just feeling mean. We want to make sure that the movie is always walking a bit of a tightrope tonally. But they actually said there's an X-rated version of this movie that they could easily cut together. Now the interviewer was all like, I don't want to see that. And they're like, us either. And I'm like, hey, fuck everybody else in this room. I want that. I will pay double for it on 4K tomorrow. Give me the Terrifier cut of Scream 6 right now. I'm not saying it should be in the theater. I agree with them where knowing when to cut it a little bit short before you go into just too extreme territory for the tone of the movie. That being said, who doesn't want an unrated mid-2000s unrated cut too hot for TV version of Scream 6? I do.
Who wants a mustache ride?
They also asked them if they thought a Scream video game would work, upon which they said 100% yes. They said they play the Call of Duty thing, and like 90% of the people in there were Ghostface, so they think it would totally work. They also think a board game would work, because just the way Scream is, a whodunit and all that, it lends itself to so many different things. And I totally agree. I mean, in the world that we're in with video games and horror popping off the way it is, we should have a Halloween game by now. We should have a Scream game by now. Why are we letting one game with like the Dead by Daylight stuff just take all the characters? And I wouldn't even want that kind. Imagine a Scream like video game where you actually had to play through it, had a really good campaign, and you're trying to figure out which of the characters is the killer, and then you get this crazy motive reveal at the end. And what if the game switched on its axis and every time you played it, it was a different character reveal? How badass would that be? And now we get to the best part of the video of the day, the hope, the dear hope for those who have been spoiled. There is hope for you yet, my friends. They also said in this interview, they said, you never know how in the moment it's going to turn out. And we're here at Paramount finishing it up now. And every day we get to spend on it, you're really excited to come into work. And that's how you know you have something really special. The key words I want to focus in on here is that they are working on the film right now. This interview was Saturday. Now, was it pre-recorded? Maybe, but probably not that further in advance. The key words I want to focus in on there is that they're finishing it up right now. They're still working on it. Now, this may give some people PTSD when it comes back to the Halloween Kills thing, when they were still working on that thing for 7 years and going in there and being like, whoop, boop. I don't know if you should keep fucking with it. This is a different scenario, of course. Now, I have heard there has been rumblings and stuff in the past about them filming different endings and stuff like that, and different scripts and all these things like that. It's possible that they had several different endings filmed, for sure, in a movie like this. There's two things that may have happened, all right? And I'm just hoping upon all hopes that this is what happened. I know it may be a bit of a stretch. Number one, if they filmed different endings, different edits, just in case this situation happened, and maybe they saw the leak that came out, and they decided, all right, let's go with this other one. It was just as good as the other one. It doesn't change the future in some weird way. I won't get into specifics, but maybe there's a chance that they had that film, they're just going to switch that out, and hey, it just turns into an alternate ending. Now, obviously, that's not best for the film. You definitely want them to go with what they felt was the best option the first time. But that being said, who knows? Maybe the other endings they have are just as good and they put it in there. My number two theory is it's possible that spoilers end up playing into the plot of the movie, and that leaks in the world of the internet, the meta shit of today, ends up playing a plot into the movie. And how fucking ingenious would it be if they took one of the already alternate takes, put some random dude's name, because as people have seen it know, allegedly it was a Paramount screen or somebody who worked there with their name watermarked on the video. So maybe they actually took one of the alternate endings, clipped it together themselves, leaked it out themselves, and it's just a play into the movie. That's a stretch, I know. That's a Stretch Armstrong level stretch, I know, but it would be fucking genius. And maybe they also showed that ending during their test screenings. But either way, my point is this: they're still working on the movie as of now. So if they had any other option to go with, if they were concerned about this spoiler, about this leak affecting the movie, then that means that there's the chance there's still time for them to go in and change that and kind of shoehorn that other ending then. And how big of a surprise would it be? You know, what if that's part of the meta-ness of the movie? If they're like, nobody wants to be surprised anymore, everything's given away in the trailers, yada, 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 and that's part of the reveal somehow. And then all of a sudden you're in the theater and you actually get to experience that surprise, and it's not ruined for you by the Grace Randolphs of the world, like every fucking superhero surprise. You know what I mean? That feeling when you're actually in the theater and you got to experience like Batman walking up on screen as a cameo or some shit like that, and just being surprised in the moment, that good old classic movie feeling. I know it's a stretch that they would do that, but I kind of hope that they do, because I miss it. But anyway, there is a little slither of hope, my friends. And you know what? To the people who leaked that, fuck you up your fucking ass. SFX Magazine just released an interview with the same folks as well in their magazine, and they say in this one, Ghostface is gonna be mean as fuck. One of my biggest hopes for this movie, as you guys know, is that Ghostface this time around has some training, is way more visceral, is way more physical. That way he's not tripping on shit. Although I love that version of Ghostface, I think at this point you have to switch it up if you want to scare people a little bit more. I think you need a more physically intimidating Ghostface, and it sounds like we're gonna get it. They said there are a lot of fun, wonderful classic Ghostface moments, but it's not the pratfalling Ghostface. We love that, but for this to be scary and to achieve a level of visceral tension, we wanted to put the character more in the real world. If Ghostface is trying to get through a door, it's gonna fucking happen. There's no giving up, but when he's in pursuit, the pursuit doesn't end until he's achieved his goals. Also talking about Ghostface, they use words like relentless. They say that they have to turn the volume up. When talking about the shotgun situation, they say, hey, we don't want to play it safe or boring. We want Ghostface with a shotgun. We want to raise eyebrows. And this movie is just, all these words that are being said are just getting physical parts of my body to point in different directions. I'm very excited. This is exactly what I want to hear when I hear about a Scream sequel in the dark year of our Lord 2023. They also talk about Sam, Melissa Barrera's character, and something that I've noticed and been thinking about lately is when you talk about the urges, because, you know, Billy being her dad and her seeing him and shit like that, and you saw the way she just stabbed the shit out of Richie at the end of Scream 5. It was just weirdly attractive. I don't know what that says about me. It's probably a lot that says about me. The whole idea of her having that killer in her head, I think we all go with the idea of, oh, they're trying to plant a red herring that she's the killer just because Billy was her dad and it's in her blood, it's in her brain or whatever. But what if they went a different route with this? And I was thinking, when you see pictures of her or like little shots of her in some of the Scream trailers and she's got like kind of a sadistic face on, I don't think if she's Ghostface in any of the versions of this movie, they're going to show us that. So I think that maybe she's got that sadistic face on because much like what she did to Richie, she's taking out her psychotic tendencies on bad people. So we could have this Dexter-ish type of situation going on with her, not as like the main thread or the main plot, but here's what they had to say about it, which kind of adds to my theory a little bit. They say, I think while Sam recognizes and sort of embraces there's a part of her life in the previous movie, that's a part of her life in the previous movie, I think that this is more of an exploration of what that actually means. What do you do when you recognize that there's some dark passenger on the ride with you? Where do you put that, especially when you have a fear that a part of you is not something you can necessarily control? One of the thematic elements in this, how do we reconcile ourselves with the darker parts of ourselves that we all carry around? Pornhub. How do you accept those things in yourself or succumb to them? So I think they're playing with the ideas of that for sure. They're toying with us as her possibly being a red herring throughout the movie. Who knows? Maybe she is a Ghostface or one of the Ghostface or part of the alleged Ghostface cult, which I believe is going to happen at some point. Who knows? But that's interesting. What do you guys think about that? Like, what if she's excited that there's a new Ghostface? You know what I mean? What if you find out she's put everybody in harm's way because she wants to kill some fucking Ghostface because that's the only way she can get her rocks off anymore? Just a thought. They do talk a little about Kirby as well, and they say that the off-screen story of where she's been in the years before she drops into the story is just really fun. There's a lot to work with, and Hayden worked with it very well. It's not just nostalgic. It's not just servicing the idea of how great it feels to have Kirby back. She's a real character with a consequential role, and I think that's one of the things we're most excited about, which is pretty fucking cool. I definitely think that they nailed that, and maybe Halloween Kills walked so Scream 6 could run, and when it involves like bringing these characters back, it's just kind of fan service like they did with Brackett and all these other characters that really didn't work out that great at certain moments. Halloween Kills. I think Scream 6 is realizing that and say, hey, let's do that. Let's bring these characters like Kirby back, but let's give them something meaty to chew on. As far as that big shrine goes, that's a beautiful way to insert Easter eggs into the movie without having to feel like you're going off course to do it, or just like, hey, look at this shiny fucking thing over here that takes you out of the movie the way so many movies do with the Marvels and stuff like that these days. I'm really kind of sick of it, you know? Like, every single movie shouldn't have a 25,000 things you fucking missed in it. But they say the shrine is looking back to the previous crimes for sure, but the way it's worked into the script creates forward momentum. We had fun with the Easter eggs in the last film, but we didn't want to repeat ourselves this time. There was something so great in this one about putting the Easter eggs literally on display and baking them into the plot. Like weed. There's this mythological thing about Ghostface, and it has been, and that exists in this idea of the shrine. For us, certainly as fans of the franchise, it felt like there was a fun opportunity to continue and build the mythology around this character in this movie, so that's this sort of omnipresent force. And of course, in a city of millions of people on Halloween, anyone could put that mask on. Which brings us to the Stab franchise, which will now officially exist in this universe, will be in this movie. I think they asked him about it, and he said yes. He said Rian Johnson is shooting Stab 9 and 10 simultaneously. We've heard that Stab 9 is really good. I was thinking the other day, you know what would be funny is if Rian Johnson as himself was actually the opening kill. Like, I don't think that works for this movie because this movie is more serious, and as we know, as predicted, if you haven't checked that out yet, in our last Scream update video, we talked about how we think that there's a possibility that there's going to be multiple Ghostface killings happening across the city at the same time, eradicating the McKenzie family, and that's going to be the opening kill of the movie. But what if at some point, like in Scream 7, they got Rian Johnson to show up and just did some meta thing where they actually killed the director of a Stab movie? That could be pretty interesting, and I know there's a lot of Star Wars fans who would actually like to see that happen in Effigy. That's fucked up, you guys. It's fucked up. But that's the news, guys. Yeah, big fat fucker for you. We got a little bit of hope that maybe, just maybe, they're still working on the movie. Maybe it hasn't been spoiled for all of us by those fucking dickholes, and some other fun stuff to chew on. So comment down below, what are your thoughts? If you enjoyed this video and you want more like it, there's a subscribe button and the bell so that YouTube will tell you when we make these videos so I can keep giving you this shit. We'll be live tomorrow at 11 a.m. Eastern time talking all the day's movie news as well. And again, don't forget to click subscribe, the bell, and clicking the like button helps us keep doing these videos because it helps us rank better, and we say things like fuck, cock, shit, and balls, so YouTube doesn't like to. So I really appreciate your help in doing so. I love your fucking faces. You guys have an amazing day. Halloween never ends, suck my fucking dick, and I don't really care what Blumhouse fucking says. Put him in a box, or suck a fucking cock. You can say he's dead, but we all know he's not. Yeah. So let's go trick-or-treating, let's go fucking drinking, let's all go rent Pumpkinhead on VHS. Cause Halloween never ends, Halloween never ends, Halloween never ends, yeah.